do intros. I don't know if I think most people, you've got your names on the screen, unless shall we do little intros? Do you normally? I think because there's a...
It's up to everyone. If anyone's new to the group, they can introduce themselves.
But I'm Linda Franklin. I'm the Deputy Finance Director in Sirona. So I'm just sort of chairing the meeting, so helping out with that. So there's anybody, and I think see a few regular names, so it's nice to meet you all. I think Pip's only with us for till past, so I think I'm going to ask her to do your presentation on AI. So
does that work all right if we just kind of start now?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
super. Can everyone see that front screen first of all? Ask the all questions. Super. So just by means of introduction, my name is Philippa Rayner, or Pip normally, but Philippa officially. And I am Head of Delivery and Consultancy at DDAT within the NHS BSA. So for those people that do or don't know, we're an arm's length body of the BSA and look after a number of products and services across workforce, so NHS jobs, pensions, training, students, citizen services, so things like overseas health, EHIC, GHIC cards, baby loss certificates. I'm trying to think of all the products we've delivered in that space, early help schemes, England Infected Blood Compensation Programme. We also have primary care services, which covers optom, dentistry, pharmacy, and some GP Connect work. And my role within the BSA is to look after the products and services that need to be delivered to enable all of those towers to work. So we are a multi-cloud environment. We have Oracle, AWS and Azure. I'm responsible for those products and delivering services from them. I'm responsible for making sure that our Microsoft technology stack enables delivery. I'm responsible for process automation software, for any Microsoft cognitive services, and this kind of toolkit is kind of growing now. Gen AI is within this innovation space, so that also falls to me from a products and services and delivery point of view. So we have other people developing strategy and policy, people with much more technical knowledge than I've got doing the kind of platform or cloud space architecture. Enterprise architects work with me, and then I do the delivery piece. And we have a number of capability contracts to spike teams of people to help come in and do this work as and when we need it. So that's kind of a little bit of the context. So I was going to talk a little bit about what we've done at the BSA in respect of Gen AI and what we're going to do next. So we started off doing a discovery piece of work earlier this year, and the outcome of that was exactly as it says on the screen. We wanted to have proven that we could apply Gen AI to significantly improve the efficiency of the organisation. So we were never looking to do anything external. We were never looking to do anything with patient or citizen data per se. We were just looking to do things internally. We have a 700-seat contact centre as an example, and we have 4,500 people that work at the BSA. So what could we do for them and those people and customers that they then service to increase our own efficiency? So that was the kind of starting point. And our chief executive has always kind of said to me, we never want to be bleeding edge on any of this stuff. We don't want to be groundbreaking. We don't want to be at the back of the pack either, but we'll just tuck somewhere in the middle, learn from those that have gone before, and just make sure that we're not opening ourselves up to any mistakes. So we started off by looking at 3 different lenses, 3 different buckets at which we could test this theory. One was about personal efficiency and productivity. So that's kind of how could I be better at my job by using generative AI tools? More than likely products that are within the Azure M365 space, or Copilot products. What could we do at a professional level? So we have teams of developers, teams of testers, teams of architects. So what tools could we buy for them, comms people, for example, to kind of do the heavy lifting in their role, never to take human out of the loop ever, always to kind of assist. And then what could we do at an organisational level? So where there were huge seismic things happening at the organisation, for example, the number of emails we get about pensions or the number of jobs that are being applied for and so on and so forth. What could generative AI do to help with that? All of the time, very, 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 very cognizant of the fact that we needed to be secure and safe, and we needed to make sure that everything that we were doing was accurate, that we had the right guardrails around it, that we were never in a position where we were doing something that would end up on the front of the Daily Mail. Really, that was always our kind of guidance. I think it works well for most things in life. What would the Daily Mail think? So we made sure that we had impact assessments, that people were clear on the data we were using. To test the theory, we used test data, so we were never kind of using real data, so never real CVs as an example. We were using anonymized data sets to work out what we could do within the breadth of the pilot, if you like. Because we were in the discovery stage and not actually in full project delivery, we kind of worked to the rules of discovery. So we kind of went out and about and identified a number of use cases that we could do. So they were everything from, you know, using generative AI tools to help us post things on social media, all the way through to using generative AI tools to look at the possibility of long listing job applications, as an example. We looked at all of those proof of concepts and we evaluated them against a framework that was to deliver value, to improve productivity, to kind of, you know, that the business case would stack up, were we to move from discovery into project for any of these, and to make sure that they are always kind of sat with our emerging policy in this area, which is really difficult because it's so new. Not many organisations have got a robust policy in place. There is one, but things are changing constantly. So the policies and supporting strategies need to do that as well. So we didn't want to take any risks in that regard. So what we did was we kind of did some product research, what was available, what was out there that we would need to buy. We're already an M365 E5 customer, so we knew that we would have the base in place to at least use some of the Microsoft tools that were available. Data quality is another issue, but the toolkit was available. We looked at how we could get hold of these easily in a discovery piece of work. We looked at speaking with relevant heads of service across the BSA to make sure that what they were asking for was what we could provide. So if people were kind of saying, you know, I'd really like something in generative AI to kind of come in and interview 50 people, we knew that that wasn't something that we were going to be able to do. So we were managing expectations. We looked at architectural research. So we did lots of work with colleagues, a company that had done work with NHS England to look at their approach, their scaffolding, if you like, their policy approach. So we worked closely with colleagues at NHS England and with BJSS, who were a consultancy that they'd commissioned to do some work. And we made sure that we kept on top as far as possible as policy. We created a Gen AI advisory group, which was not a decision-making board, but it was somewhere that people could come with ideas or come with concerns or come with questions about whether something did fit the bill to pursue. So we had a number of streams where people could discuss ideas. Never wanted it to be so much of a talking shop, but we could triage those ideas to see what we could go forward with. And we were always working with data and with suggestions that were internal to the BSA. So there was nothing clinical happening here. This was more around, I guess a good way to phrase it would be kind of admin burden, but you know, it's not as simple as that because it can evolve into other things. So we looked at those use cases and we then put them into a number of proof of concepts, ran with those proof of concepts, and then came out with some ideas at the end. So this just kind of gives an idea of the numbers that we talked about for the proof of concept. We captured more than 40 ideas. We looked at hundreds and hundreds of products, some that were not actually available. They just looked available, so they'd not even been developed or kind of created yet. And we looked at how easy it would be to access those products. We shortlisted 20. We looked at the use cases to see where there was any parity between them, because there was no point using a tool that was for room booking when we didn't need that. So there was kind of a little bit of work about what we could look at and what we could then go forward to deliver within Discovery, and we came out with 30 use cases. This is quite a hefty slide, but it kind of shows everything that we needed to consider. So generally in the kind of policy and governance workspace, we needed to look at policy. We didn't have a policy for use of generative AI. We had a reasonable use policy for equipment. We had a bring your own device policy, but we didn't have anything around, I am writing a report, what can I put into ChatGPT as an example? So we needed to review that along with guidance that had already been produced. We know that the Cabinet Office and others were producing tools that we could use and add into our toolkit, so we were doing that. We need, and we're still working on this, an AI-focused risk assessment to add that into our already quite meaty and healthy DPIA, because this is a new lens using different data, or could use different data going forward. We needed to make sure that across all of the towers that we operate, so the citizen services, workforce and primary care, that they were on top of any regulatory guidance for AI work that was specific to their own deliverables, because things have been quite static for an amount of time until generative AI has come in. And the AI advisory group, which is still going, that does need to change as the project evolves, but we know that we need to look at the roles and responsibilities of that. So as we've moved forward, we've also looked at security testing and deployment, just to make sure that the tools are still right, that they're fit for purpose, that they're still holding our data securely. This is fine in kind of common tools such as the Copilot suite, because that works within data that's within our tenancy, but anything else we needed to make sure that we were doing regular audits on that. If we were uplifting lots of data into a social media management tool as an example, what was happening with those images that we were storing, or any data that we were doing for the tool to then build a series of LinkedIn posts or a series of Instagram posts or whatever it might be. We also needed to make sure that we were getting internal and external engagement right, because our staff wanted to know what they could do, how they could use generative AI, how it would assist them in their day-to-day jobs, and what a developer needs from generative AI is very different to what an executive assistant needs. A developer may well use generative AI, GitHub Copilot, to assist with writing code and keeping secrets and testing code, whereas an executive assistant might use a generative AI tool to join a meeting and take minutes. So it's kind of a one catch-all phrase, but it's multifaceted for the streams of work that run underneath it. So we knew to do that we needed a robust communications plan and a communications officer working with us, and kind of linked into what leadership team were feeling was the right thing to do. And some of this was quite uncharted territory, so we put a lot of time and effort into the policy and governance space. I've done a very kind of whistle-stop tour through kind of what we did there. Any questions at that point before I kind of talk about our next steps? Hi, John.
Yeah, thanks, Philippa. With the you mentioned the consultancy in NHS England,
yes,
in terms of getting up and running. Was any of that funded in terms of capacity? I just wanted to understand that, if that's okay.
Yeah. So in terms of what NHS England,
yeah, did it come
the
with
work
any
that
money
they
to,
did?
Yeah, to provide that support resource in.
I suspect that theirs did, John, but the company that they used, they just kindly invited me along to a couple of meetings that they did. So I don't know about their own funding model, but I know that they had some money aside to kind of do some investigative work. And the company that they used happened to be based in Newcastle, which is where our head office is. So I was able to just join some of those meetings. But I think the infrastructure, or the that infrastructure is the wrong word, the kind of policy guidance that was drawn up, I suspect that was a commissioned piece of work, but I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any more questions? I think maybe Pip, you're going on to the next bit, aren't you?
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
going to briefly, so I don't kind of, because don't have a slide because the slide would be far too busy, but I was just going to kind of talk about the key takeaways really of what the proof of concepts that worked really well.
Yeah, that'd be good.
The biggest win for us was around the biggest lesson that we learned really was around none of this works unless your data's of a sufficient quality. And I think, you know, most people would know that, because if you are setting off generative AI tools of any description to go and find something within your website or within your tenant or within a data source that is guardrailed, it has to be accurate for the tool to bring back the right thing. So as an example, we had we developed an HR chatbot, which was would work really well in the future, but because the quality of our data underneath it, that this was to help HR advisors find things more readily when they were taking calls or answering emails on something specific. So anything that was on our internal hub site, like our internal intranet site, if that content has not been well managed by a content owner, no generative AI would work for that. So our proof of concept there failed. Our HR shared services division wanted something really simple to help advisors find the most up-to-date policy or give the right advice. But if you were typing into a chatbot, what is the number of days bereavement leave, it would not be able to find an answer because there were 6 or 7 policies that were in the hub. So the tool failed, the pilot failed because the data quality was so poor. Now, if the content was kept up to date and there was just one source of truth, then that chatbot would have worked really well for both an advisory capacity and actually for me as a user, because I could just go on and do that without contacting HR shared services. So there were efficiencies that we could demonstrate there, but that comes back to the data piece. If the data isn't right, no tool is going to work. And we had lots and lots of those. We had an HR shared services chatbot that failed for that reason. We tested something in the pension space that failed for the same reason. That then exposed quite a few accessibility challenges around PDF documents. So we've come out of this with a list of things that we have to do as foundations before we can make those kind of things work. Successful pilots were around a tool we used called Quick Action, which was a short-term temporary solution that we purchased that joined meetings and took meeting minutes and took actions for people that weren't there. Microsoft Copilot for M365 and Teams Premium does that, but we wanted to do it on a very small use base. So we used a tool as part of the pilot to do it, to prove that it would work. And then we will enact that through using the Copilot products as we sort out our data going forward. So they were the kind of big win pieces. We also used a tool to help us interrogate data, which wasn't kind of a process automation piece because it was going one level under that, if you like. So we use RPA at the BSA to kind of help move through processes really quickly. What this was doing was moving through the process and then presenting the data back. And where we've got data scientists that do a data return once a year, we've never put the time in to automate those processes. So it takes 3 or 4 days once a year, but actually feeding it all into a generative AI tool meant that we didn't have to do masses and masses of proprietary work because the tool did the heavy lifting and presented the data back. So that was also a really successful pilot. And our most successful one was using GitHub Copilot, which is within the M365 licensing agreement. So we could easily procure that going forward without worrying about any commercial limitations. And that's helped our developer community test their own code or kind of analyze their own code, make sure that their code is right, in line with standards and practice, and helped them do development far more quickly than they would have been able to do before. We will never take our developers out and just put Copilot in, because it is exactly that. It's a co-pilot, not a pilot, which is what we talk about a lot at the BSA. But what it has done is given us standard and a common standard across our development community, which has helped us move forward. And we are continuing with that. Pilot is actually continuing outside of the project because it's been so successful and easy to procure. And our next stage will be looking at enhancing the Copilot tools within Microsoft, but also looking at different tools to help us using our social media platforms and consistent messaging across all of them, consistent branding, consistent language. And we're also really keen to look at generative AI tools that can help us in long listing, and not necessarily shortlisting, but long listing job applications, because we are seeing the number of people that are applying for jobs increasing off the chart, because they are using generative AI tools to do that. So we're getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applicants per post, and actually a lot of that could be stripped out by using a generative AI tool for long listing on essential criteria, as an example. There's lots of work to do around policy for that, because the policy has to be right, and we need to tell people that's what we're doing, and we need to be clear on why we're doing it. But that's something that we're going to pursue next. And that's about the journey so far.
Thanks, Pip. I don't know if other people got questions, but I mean, a few from me. It's what's really fascinating in your talk is the amount of input you did in terms of pre-bit before you did anything. So like the preparation, I could really sense that that was a key part of it. So how long did it take from start, when you started off, to when you were actually then testing things and seeing some results?
We kicked off the kind of initial piece of work in February of this year, and had some so I had a lead delivery manager working on this almost full time to coordinate all of those pieces of work from about February to June, and it was in February to May, and then we conducted the interviews through May and June, and then reported out in July. But it was resource intensive to kind of do all of that proprietary work, and we used I would say probably 50% of a cybersecurity expert's time, 50% of an enterprise architect's time to get all of that proprietary work done.
Well, in addition to the person that was sort of leading?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah,
so it's quite a resource heavy in
yeah.
terms of the
I
initial
would
bit.
say that kind of initial team, including some of my time, was probably at any one time about 5 whole-time equivalents.
Wow, yeah. And it sounds like you've done all the sort of the hard work, really, in the sense of that setup. So, and you talked about your next bits around the co-pilot and the doing the shortlisting. I mean, are you seeing the benefits of that coming through in terms of the financially, I suppose, in terms of being able to release costs that maybe would cover that initial bit?
I think the thing is, one of the things that we've done is our lens on it has been about that kind of increase in productivity. Not so much, we're not seeking to release any bodies in doing this, but what we are seeking to do is kind of hopefully see an impact in our attrition. So which obviously is a financial benefit in itself. So, but we won't see that until we move some of this stuff into true production. We've got some ideas and we've kind of looked at what it would mean. But for example, the developer piece is what we didn't want to do was for developers to pay for their own Copilot and therefore exfiltrate data from the BSA and put it into their own instance of Copilot. So that's a risk mitigation as much as anything. And then we're keeping all of the information. So that would never be a kind of true to see it on a balance sheet financial benefit, but there are other benefits to doing that. And in the contact center, our attrition is really high. We work, you know, in the part of the country that we work in, that we're based in, people kind of move around the contact center circuit, if you like, and kind of move to different places. So what we wanted to do was give people the right tools to be able to make their job as productive as possible, and hope that they would stay and not move on, or that when people did leave, we didn't need to backfill as many. So that will kind of come out in the business case for the next stages.
Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful. So have you got any more questions?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, just to introduce myself. So I'm Art. I'm a finance manager from NHS England, and yeah, it's really interesting. I took loads of notes, and I'm wondering, how far have you got with the shortlisting? Have you already adopted the Copilot
no.
wider?
For the shortlisting?
Yes.
Oh no, we haven't done anything in that. We know that that's something that we want to look at next, because that's causing us a big headache. So as far as kind of Copilot goes, Copilot for M365, we've not yet put that in at the BSA either, because we've got quite a lot of work to do on our data classification and retention before that happens for Copilot for M365.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks. Any more questions? Well, thanks, Pip. That was really, really fascinating. It's really interesting to.
If there's any follow-up questions, though, please don't hesitate to drop me an email. That's absolutely fine. Or happy to.
Yeah, we definitely share that, won't we, Evie? So
happy to do anything else that might help.
Thank you very, very much. So, right. So I know you've got to drop off now, so I just really appreciate you joining us.
No, it's lovely. Good to meet you all. Have a great day. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. So I think next we've got Aoife on the One NHS Finance update.
Thanks, Linda. Hi, everyone. Just a very quick update from me today. So off of the back of VMAC, we have had 4 VMAC showcase sessions come out with this. They're all 1-hour online events, and you can find further details on these on our events page. The sessions will be focusing on electronic approvals, the journey to level 3 accreditation, health and wellbeing, and advanced anomaly detection and transactional finance data. So all different things for me to choose from there. We also have a busy January coming up with our Health and Wellbeing Conference on Tuesday, the 21st of January. And we also have the Towards Excellence Accreditation Assessor training on Wednesday, the 22nd of January. We do have lots more events already in the calendar, so I'll pop the events page link in the chat and you can have a scan through, as I'm sure there's something for everyone on there. Just also something else to mention, our Career Progressors applications will be open in January. This course is free for all NHS finance staff. It is a 3-day in-person programme, which will be taking place in May, June and July 2025. This course is targeted at Band 5 to 7 finance professionals to develop their leadership skills, create development plans and improve interview and application techniques. We have had great feedback on this course in the past year, so I'd highly recommend looking into it, and I'll pop the link in the chat for that also. And finally, just to remind you all that the next accreditation deadline is Tuesday, the 31st of December. So if you have any questions, please do contact One NHS Finance. That's it from me, Linda. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Is there any questions people have got? I did want to ask, because we've just had the Value Maker conference, haven't we? And I just wondered, anybody who'd been, whether they, had any sort of, useful highlights or anything from that. I did join online. I wasn't able to go on the day, but I don't know, did anybody here go and join?
If any of you missed it, we actually have uploaded the recording onto our YouTube channel now, so you can feel free to watch any sessions back.
Yeah, so some different sessions you could, particularly in the afternoon, maybe that would be useful for people, wouldn't they? So it sounds, just just to say that's there, really available. Is there any other questions people have got? We're a quiet group today. I think maybe we're all chilly, aren't we? So is there anything that people would like to have for next time, or would be useful to bring to this meeting? Any thoughts?
Perhaps something we can take back to our team. So, looking, around the room, which trusts are represented, which aren't. Is there a reason? Because I think you've got value makers in all trusts, I believe, in the area. Maybe if we can also get some feedback from our trust to see what time works for us. Is it a day of the week, etc., and what sort of thing they would like to see. Perhaps we can take that back as an action, just to find out what's stopping people.
That's a good idea, Louisa. So we could do a little survey, couldn't we? Yeah, absolutely. That's a good idea.
So Lucy and I were just saying offline actually it works well for us because of the time we can just sit here, listen and eat our lunch quickly. So actually it isn't.
Lunchtime is generally quite good for people, isn't it?
Yeah, because we can just switch our cameras off, eat our sandwich, and then have that extra benefit. But I don't know, maybe we need to go out to the group, out to the trust, and say what's the blocker. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's really fascinating. I joined the Value Maker Awards judging, so I was one of the judges for that, and it was really interesting seeing all the nominations there were from across the rest of the country, and there were only 3 from the Southwest. There were loads from elsewhere, and it's interesting, and there must be things that we're doing that are just as great, and we must have just as great people, but we've not got the engagement here yet. We're sort of behind the curve really in the Southwest. So it's what do we do, because we've got quite a few. The numbers of value makers have been increasing, haven't they? But I agree, it's how do we get them here and not be just be joining, and what makes them makes it more interesting for them.
Yeah, I'll be happy to put together a survey and I can circulate it to everyone in the network from the Southwest.
Anita, do you think you could share what they take to their meetings in one of the other regions? Are they doing something that we're missing? I'm guessing you're
yeah.
No,
so we all do have the same process across all regions with the Leeds meetings, and then I'll email out to everyone to say what's on the agendas and stuff. In other regions we're doing like in the Midlands, for example, we're doing a lot of stuff around schools, and people are sharing what they've been doing, like going into schools and promoting NHS finance. So at my Midlands meeting this morning, we had quite a lot of people attend to that, because I think people did actually find that quite useful to listen to. But it is all the same process. I just think we need to try and promote it more in the Southwest and try encourage more people to come.
Yeah, because I know it's not for want of you trying, is it? So,
yeah. Yeah, no, I think it'd be a good start to do a survey, and we can try get an idea of people's thoughts. John?
Thanks.
Yeah, I've heard the sort of Southwest sort of low take up relative before, so it's useful to hear it again, because we've got a big sort of system event next week, so we'll be sort of encouraging people to get more involved in that event. But have you got any stats on like the value makers, the FACE clinical educator? Yeah. Have you got Southwest stats? Because I did just ask Georgia and Charlie in our patch for that this morning to inform.
I'll just jot down your email, and I can send you those stats over after the meeting.
Oh, that's great. I'll pop it in the chat, and if you could get
thank you.
Our event's next Thursday. If you could get me that within that next week, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Oh, thanks so much. Thank you.
No worries.
And Lucy?
Yeah, I was just going to follow on about Pip, whether we could invite her back periodically just to see how they progress with their projects, because I'm sure particularly any efficiencies in productivity they can find around shortlisting for posts. I'm sure that other trusts, I'm sure our own trust, for instance, would really like to learn from that.
Yeah.
It's one of those processes that probably everybody really doesn't look forward to.
Yeah, definitely.
So a periodic update from her would probably be quite useful, given that we've come in at the beginning. Well, she's talked to us today, hasn't she, more at the beginning of what they're setting off to do. So that maybe that would be a good topic for the future.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah. Okay, thanks. And Louisa.
So just going back to attendance, I was just wondering, what is the distribution list to this? Do you just invite the lead from each trust, or who is invited?
So the process is, so all the leads are put in to the diary invite, but we don't put anyone else in the diary invite. So our new process is, so everyone on our website who's registered as a value maker in the Southwest will get emailed by me. So the meeting gets put on our website as an event now. So I will send them an email with a link, and they can book on to this. And I can it's easy to track the numbers and stuff.
Do you think that if someone's, so that kind of is requiring people to actually make an effort to actually click on the link, click on the website and register? If someone is registered as a value maker, could they be invited as the leads are as well? So with the meeting invite, would that then put less effort on their side and they're more likely to attend? I think when you get so many emails, for someone to then open the email, click on the link, register, not everyone's that engaged. So are they more likely to attend if they were to receive the meeting invite? So any registered value makers? Because if they're a value maker, this is their meeting.
Yeah. So that was an old process of ours, but we had to change it for GDPR.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, which is a bit annoying, but yeah, we do try and we do push people to, if we have low booking numbers, I can track them quite easily. We do push a few times, but I do know it can be an effort. This new process.
Sorry, do you know, I didn't even consider GDPR, so yeah, I completely understand. Sorry.
No, that's all right, no problem.
Thanks.
Yeah, if anyone has any ideas of a different way we could do it, but this is like the only way we could think of. It's not with GDPR and stuff.
Yeah, maybe there's, because you can send emails out and no one knows who else has got the email, can't you? Is that not a way around?
Yeah, so that's email. I think in diary invites you can't do that. But in emails you can do that, yeah. But that would just be the same process that we're following at the moment.
Yeah, because definitely next year we need to get more nominations, because for the awards, because it was really sad. There was like loads from elsewhere, and really, it's a bit embarrassing really from our, and there must be things, that will raise the profile as well, won't it? If we can get much more nominations as well.
We could maybe nearer to the time we can have an agenda item as well. When nominations open, we could speak about it and promote it on this meeting.
Yeah, that'd be really good. Okay, so we're going to do a little questionnaire round. That'd be great. And if we can think of any other ways of promoting within our teams. Sounds like, John, you've got a sort of a meeting in your area. If the rest of us have got meetings with our other colleagues from our systems, and anything we can do that helps promote it would be great. And also ideas for next session, because when's the next one?
So the next session is 2 seconds. Let me just have a look. So our next meeting is on, just leading, Wednesday. No, it's not. Wednesday, the 19th of February.
Has anyone got any great ideas of, or any ideas of things that we can do for next time that might be interesting to a wider audience? You might have seen something elsewhere. Anything you're doing that's good within your organisations?
I can maybe put something on the survey. People can have what they'd like to hear, some few ideas, and people can select.
I think the things that people are interested in are things that those innovation things, aren't they? It tends to be, like the AI and that sort of stuff. That's something different that you maybe are not doing in your organisation, or you're new to. That's the sort of thing, or where people have had success with things like that. There's okay, but if we put that on the survey, that'd be great. And thanks. All right then. So shall I call it? I'll call it the meeting closed now. So those who've not had their sandwich can go do that now. So, all right, take care, guys.